So welcome to our Pi Day lesson. On Pi Day, March 14th or nearby, I like to do the circumference of a circle. So this is not part of any particular unit. So let's see if we already know some vocabulary. Do we know what a diameter is? So the diameter is all the way across, right? All the way across through the center. So the diameter, the answer to that is 8 inches. Do we know what halfway across is? Right, halfway from the middle to the outside, and you can do it anywhere, right? It'd all be the same number anywhere. What would be halfway across? That would be the 4 inches, and that's called the radius. Okay. Now this dimension over here, this is all the way across, this 6, but it does not go through the middle. So that's not a diameter. It's called chord. You don't need the chord for any calculations in middle school, but you will use them in high school. A chord is spelled the same as a musical chord, is all the way across, but not through the center. Once the chord goes through the center of the circle, it's now called the diameter. And we're going to need the diameter today, all the way across the circle through the center. Right, so how could we find the length of that red line? Right? You take a ruler to it. Rulers are straight. Well, one way would be to cut a piece of string. You could cut a piece of string, right, and then loop it around for that length, then straighten the string out and measure it with a ruler. Would be one way to measure it. But we also could measure it with math, and here's how. All right, so we've got to make sure we know all the vocabulary that we went over in the warm-up. The diameter is all the way across. So the diameter here is 10 centimeters. And the radius will always be half. All right, the radius is 5 centimeters. All right, that's a chord. You're not going to be needing to find that. All right, so find the diameter and radius. The diameter here, right, when I show it like that, the diameter is 12 inches. And the radius, well, once you have one of them, you'll always have the other. The radius is always half the size of the diameter because it's halfway across. Right, so the diameter is always twice the radius. The radius is always half the diameter. So find the diameter radius. So the radius, right, the radius is 8. And what's the diameter? The diameter is 16. It's not in the picture, right? That's a chord. Okay, please. I do this intentionally because I get people who just write things down, who don't really understand what you're doing. If I give you the radius, the diameter is twice as big, right? It's 2 radii. So here, there's the radius again. It's 6.4 centimeters. And so again, that's chord. The diameter would be twice as big. And so the diameter, 6 times 2 is 12. 6.4 times 12 is 12.8 centimeters is the diameter all the way across. And you can show it anywhere, as long as you go all the way across through the center of the circle. All right, now the circumference of the circle is the math word for the length around the outside. It is the same exact concept as perimeter, but perimeter is for shapes with straight sides. Circumference is for circles. Now, turns out a long time ago, people discovered a relationship between the circumference of every circle and the diameter. And they found out for any size circle, small, large, huge, minuscule, doesn't matter. If you take the length around the outside, the circumference, and divide it by the diameter, you get this weird number that goes on forever. And they named that with a Greek letter named pi. Now, at first, they couldn't measure circumferences, right? Say they took a piece of string and cut it and measured it. They couldn't measure it that exactly. But as they got better and better at measurement, they realized this division, at first they might have thought it was a little bit more than 3. I think they thought it was 3 at first. Then they realized it was a little more than 3. And then they realized that the division went on forever. Okay, people are still trying to calculate the last digit of pi. It goes on forever. So we're going to do a simplified version. We're going to say that the circumference of that is 22. The diameter all the way across is 7. So I want everyone to do 22 divided by 7. 7 goes into 22. There's the 3 of 3.1415926. 3 times 7 is 21. Remainder 1. Right? 22 has a decimal. Decimal straight up. 0 straight down. 7 to 10 goes once. 1 times 7 is 7. Remainder 3. Bring down a 0. 7 to 30, 4. 4 times 7 is 28. Remainder 2. Bring down a 0. 7 into 20, 5. All right, so notice ours is not right. Yeah, because if it's 22, it's not, the diameter isn't exactly 7. This keeps going on for a while, but it's around 3.14. And that's why we use, when we're calculating things with circles, we use 3.14 often. But that is approximation of pi. Pi goes on forever, and as some people are doing right now, they are memorizing as many digits as possible of pi. People have memorized thousands of digits of pi, but doesn't, it's still going to be around 3.14. And that's why we celebrate Pi Day on March 14th. March is the third month, 14th day of the third month. But 3.14 is not pi. It's the approximation we use. Okay. So once we discovered that, you don't need to measure all the way around here. It turns out if you can just measure all the way across the circle, then you can figure out what the length all the way around the outside is called, the circumference. So, right, we're going to do approximately, right, we're going to do approximately 3.14 times the diameter times 5. That's not going to give us exactly what that circumference is, but it's pretty close. So 3.14 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 1 plus 2 is 7. 5 times 3 is 15. 2 decimals. And so this is around 15.7 inches. If we could straighten out the edge of this circle with a string, it would be around 15.7 inches. It's a little more than 3 times the diameter. Pi times diameter. All right, so which one of those is the diameter? Hopefully you realize it's the 13. And so we're doing 3.14 times 13. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. Step over, we're multiplying 3, 1, and 4 by 1. We're adding up the 2 rows. We're going to have 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. Again, this is approximate, but it's 40.82 centimeters around the outside, the circumference. All right, so it's pi circumference equals pi times the diameter. What's the diameter here? It is not 3. Okay, all the way across would be 6. So we're doing 3.14 times 6. 6 times 4 is 24. And now you know why I spent all that time on the vocabulary, because everyone here can multiply 2 numbers. The key is, do you understand what you're being given? Right? So it's, and I shouldn't have an equal sign. It's approximately 18.84, not square feet, feet. Let's practice. Write the formula for the circumference of a circle. The formula is C equals pi d, pi times the diameter. Approximate the circumference using 3.14 for pi. Okay, so it's pi 3.14, and what's our diameter? Times 16.5. Yeah, is 8.25 times 2 16.5? Yes. We can put either one up top, right? Because they have the same amount of digits. We should get the same answer no matter. We do not line up our decimal points. We're multiplying, not adding. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 plus 2 is 7. 5 times 3 is 15. Step over for the second row. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 2 is 8. 6 times 3 is 18. Step over twice for the third row. We're multiplying 3, 1, and 4. We're adding up 3 rows. 0, 11, 12, 13, 18 I'm getting for that row. I'm getting 11 for that row. 4, I'm getting 5. There's 1, 2, 3 numbers to the right, and this is approximately then 51.81 inches. Now, you can check your work, right? This was, right, it was around a little, right, 3.14 is a little more than 3, 16.5, a little more than 16. I should get an answer a little more than 48. We did, 51.81 inches. So we're going to approximate this using 3.1 for pi. 3.14 for it's pi times diameter, but we're using 3.14. What is the diameter here? Oh, it's 2.25 times 2. And, which was 4.5 is the diameter. So that's the multiplication here. All the way across is 4.5. Okay, so 3.14 times 4.5. 5 times 4 is 20. And then you got a 7 and a 15. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 is 5. 4 times 3 is 12. And there's 1, 2, 3 numbers. 1, 2, 3 numbers to the right, so it's around 14.13